There are few relationships you'll have that'll be more toxic than the ones you have with your favorite gacha games. They're predatory by nature, they want your money, but damn it, I'd be lying if I said they weren't fun to waste time on, despite knowing you should pack it up and leave. Luckily for all of us, gachas have a particularly bad habit of shooting themselves in the foot with really bad gameplay features and undercooked mechanics, with the worst offenders being so bad, it'll leave you wondering if these companies even want your money. I'm Forte, and let's talk about some of the worst features in gacha. Now, when it comes to gacha games, you're typically given a basic party in the beginning to get you on your way before you can start pulling for characters, weapons, etc. And among that starter pack, it usually includes the main character of the story to play. Basic stuff, right? Once you get some pulls under your belt, you can start putting together teams you want to try out, and more often than not, the main character usually finds their place on the bench for the foreseeable future. However, some games do take the infinitely more interesting route of making the MC a permanent party member. As a concept, I love this. It does make sense that the MC is always present, and their reserve spot on the team gives the devs a reason to keep them relevant and strong. In theory. Unfortunately, this is not the case for Persona 5 Phantom Menace. The bare bones gameplay in P5X doesn't stray too far from how it is in the main series, but to form its own identity and play into the gacha mechanics, each character has a much more defined role and set skills that they can perform. The trade-off for the limited flexibility is noticeably deeper passives and effects on skills that pretty much drive the character's playstyles. For example,
who needs a girlfriend?
Ryuji from OG Persona 5 only has a specific passive tied to his persona, which you can see here. But there is some wiggle room in building him a couple different ways since you can mix and match all his learned abilities. In P5X, base Ryuji just has access to these skills in his ult, but he has these three passives to keep in mind since they pretty much cut out his niche of being a glass cannon that wants low HP in order to activate his buffs. This is important because teams are made up of 4 characters, 3 of which will be characters that you just gain from progressing through the game, or characters that you pull from the gacha. And each character will have their own element and will be assigned one of the 7 roles in the game with no way of deviating from it. And then the 4th character will be Wonder, the main character. As the main character, in true Persona fashion, Wonder is able to swap between different personas, and like the other characters, each persona has a particular role and element that they cover. Although he lacks the sheer kit depth that the other characters have, Wonder has an amazing level of flexibility, and with him being a permanent spot on the team, he needs it. Here's the problem though. Wonder is more of an anchor to the team than the adaptable powerhouse that he should be. He isn't completely useless since he has access to a few good buffs and debuffs, but for the most part, he doesn't even come close to 4-star characters that specialize in any one role. He doesn't heal for much, and he doesn't even do enough damage to be considered a decent sub DPS. I would probably still be playing P5X to this day if Wonder was handled better in combat, because I really do love the idea of the MC being a permanent party member, but he's just so underpowered that it disappoints me to no end. And some may argue that the MC can't be that strong, or there wouldn't be a reason to pull any other characters. And to that I'd say, no, that's completely wrong, because we have one prime example, one of the most successful gachas in history, Grand Blue Fantasy. A game where combat is basically built and balanced around the captain being there with 3 other teammates. And the beautiful part is that the captain's role, no matter what role it is, can be on par with any other top tier character. Similar to Wonder's ability to switch between personas with different roles, the captain is able to swap between different classes, and they have the ability to mix and match skills. The trade-off being that Grand Blue basically becomes your second life, but you are given an extremely powerful MC for your time. P5X easily could have leaned into a combat system that let Wonder shine while working with other character kits, or releasing the occasional character that focuses on empowering Wonder. Definitely a missed opportunity, but maybe one of these modern gacha releases will copy that Grand Blue-esque system for the main character. And while not every gacha has a superpowered MC, one thing that every gacha is guaranteed to have is a gacha system. Some way to monetize new characters and get people to spend money. It's the name of the game, so no one's surprised when it reveals itself. We can only hope that when it's done in a more player-friendly fashion that eases some of the pains. Speaking of pain, let me take you on a quick journey. Imagine you're 6 or 7 years old and you're visiting your cool cousin, the one with all the consoles, the games, and they always have something new when you come over, right? Now imagine they break out the PlayStation and they pop in this weird, somewhat indie game, and you're just sitting there completely enamored by the events playing out on the screen. You got fireballs shooting across the field, glaciers popping up out of nowhere, cool dudes, massive swords. You've never seen a game like this. So of course you gotta ask him, hey, what game is this? And he just looks back at you with a smile on his face and goes, Final Fantasy VII, before he starts giving you a rundown of some city called Midgar. So it goes without saying that I've been a fan ever since. Unfortunately, being a Final Fantasy fan in the gacha space means that all I know is pain. Any good thing that we've had has been ripped away from us, and we are constantly being teased with what could be good games if it weren't for the unending greed of Square Enix. And our most recent gauntlet of pain has been Final Fantasy Dissidia Duellum, the entire reason for this video if I'm being honest. For most Final Fantasy fans, the Dissidia name is a touchy subject since most of us do hold the name very dearly to our hearts for one reason or another. But the short of it is that Dissidia has given us two of the best action RPG games in all of gaming, and that's a hill I will die on, I will see in the comments. And it's given us the best Final Fantasy gacha, Opera Omnia. With all that in mind, Dissidia Duellum had a high bar to meet, and though it may be a controversial take among those who have played it, I do think the core gameplay is a lot of fun and has a lot of potential to be a mainstay for a Final Fantasy gacha game. However, if I only had good things to say, I wouldn't be making this video. Not even getting into how predatory the gacha is because I'll get sidetracked, but I absolutely hate the fact that the skill system in this gacha is so directly tied to the gacha that it's entirely possible to have a character without their iconic moveset or signature move, since you literally have to pull for abilities. You have a Cloud without Omni Slash, Sephiroth without Octa Slash, Lightning without Army of One. No one's trying to play that. These characters have one job in these crossover games, and that's to do the move. And this is made worse by the fact that each character has 4 signature moves that they can be equipped with, but all of them have to be pulled for, and they range from rare to ultra rare, so you genuinely aren't guaranteed to even be able to fully equip the character unless you're sitting on a lot of currency. There are ways to gain the abilities through just playing the game, but that involves opening time-locked chests and basically just getting lucky that it has what you want, essentially turning it into a second gacha. So you're still at the mercy of your own luck. I am aware that other Final Fantasy gachas like Opera Omnia technically lock skills behind the gacha as well, but in the case for that game, it was PvP only, required no dupes, and it was significantly more player friendly. While Dissidia Duellum is almost strictly PvP, requires dupes, and is so much more predatory. The final mechanic to make the cut for the video isn't the most offensive, but it is one of the biggest missed opportunities in gacha. Wuthering Waves is a big player in the game, and for good reason. It has done a lot of things right when it comes to gameplay, world building, and even the gacha system. There's a lot to praise when it comes to WoWa, but of course not everything is perfect. On release, one of the most interesting parts of WoWa was the Pokemon-like ecosystem that further encouraged exploration by pushing the gotta catch 'em all mentality. This system was made even more interesting because it was directly tied to the gearing system. It was a twist on the usual gearing formula that had been established up to this point, and it was welcomed by players as much as a gearing system in gacha could be. All that said, I can't help but feel like Kuro got a little bit lazy and let the ecosystem fall in line with the typical gearing grind. As of right now, there's plenty of ways to avoid actually collecting the echo since it is the grindiest part of the game, which in and of itself isn't bad, but the echoes just become a means to an end without any meaningful implementation elsewhere in the game. On top of that, the overwhelming majority of echo abilities just have the echoes appear, do an attack, and then disappear, and that's it. There's so much potential here, and it irritates me that it's not being explored. For example, when it comes to echo abilities, why not give us powerful ones with interesting interactions with the active character? Like an echo that summons bubbles that detonate when they're hit and they deal damage based off of the character that hits it. Or an echo that attacks with the active character, pretty much doubling the amount of hits. More creative echo abilities could be used to cover weaknesses that characters have. Like a character that struggles with AoE damage could run the bubble echo I mentioned, and it could help them just enough to go from not clearing a stage to getting at least 1 star. And when it comes to implementing echoes in other places in the game, we could have a mission system where we send our strong echoes on timed hunting missions where they bring back materials and more echoes that have guaranteed stats. And as a result of successful hunts, the echoes that we send on those missions could get stronger in some aspect. Kuro could even go as far as adding shiny versions of echoes just to give us bragging rights. And with WoWa being a strictly PvE game, implementing something else that expands on the existing ecosystem is made objectively easier since Kuro doesn't have to worry about how the additional systems affect player-to-player interactions. Ultimately, giving us a few more tools to play with wouldn't break the game, and it would immediately open up the ecosystem to being more than just another gearing system, so I'm constantly hoping that Kuro decides to step it up here. Though I guess the same could be said for any other mechanic that I brought up as well, so here's to hoping that these developers come across my video and think that I'm raising some good points. Because at the end of the day, I want all these games to prosper because I am a fan, and having more good games is great for all of us. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you thought the video was cool, and if you have a particular game mechanic that you can't stand, let us know below. Let's get a discussion going. But until then, this has been PD Forte, and I'm out.